the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Blair.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
DePalma.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Thurman.
Here.
Unruh.
Here.
Rumble.
Here. All right. Any corrections to the agenda?
I didn't know if we wanted to make a correction to the consent agenda.
Okay.
I know that Bob didn't have any time. I know he was here at the last September meeting, so I was thinking we could at least pay you for that meeting, at least.
I'm not worried about it.
I'm just worried it's gonna affect MERS with our reporting. I don't know if it will, so I just,
I mean, we can do that, and he can do the other meetings.
on the next
the
time
next one,
sheet,
if-
would you be okay with that?
Whatever's easiest for you. That's fine with me.
Yeah, if you don't want to, if you're, so that's 108, right?
Yeah.
So 64.
Is he missing a regular
864.
meeting too? Or not?
I'm missing a few meetings, but I don't have access to my computer right now.
He doesn't have access to his computer because,
Okay.
so that's 864, right?
That's what I have, yep.
Okay. Yep, we can do
Because
that.
of bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion.
You're okay though, so that's.
To approve the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Support.
Thank you, Kathy. Roz and Kathy, and then since we changed it, let's just you got something else?
No,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I'm thinking in my head.
Broughton.
Yes.
DePalma.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes.
Unruh.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes. Motion carries. That brings us in right into our presentation. We have the Woodhill Group first. Oh. Mine does not.
Hi, am I on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Part of our service agreement requires us to do a 90 to 100-day health check to the board, so that's what I'm here for. Hopefully you've all had an opportunity to read the report. So it was very apparent as we were working through your books that you did not have someone who was overseeing this who had a strong accounting knowledge, who had even some of the more basic accounting knowledges. You have a very convoluted, excessively complicated system going on. Part of what happened, we think, is because the records in the system of record were so unreliable, the treasurer's office ended up generating their own set of books. Now, they aren't a complete set of books, but they are a set of cash records. So you have a lot of work happening in the treasurer's office that is duplicating work in the clerk's office. The treasurer's office, fortunately, the work in the treasurer's office is actually correct. So I really believe that the audit would not have been able to happen had the auditor not been able to go into your system of record and say they can't make sense of this. And so they went into the treasurer's office and were able to pull down accurate cash records and try and recreate some transactions. So this is absolutely not an optimal situation. We have made some changes with the limited time we were here. We have given the treasurer access to the general ledger so that he can see the cash accounts. But all of this will depend on you hiring a qualified person to oversee these books, right? To try and eliminate some of this duplicate work. So we gave you a fairly detailed review of what we've done. And I guess the only other thing I want to make sure I call out to you is the way you're handling your MERS payments. So there was an excessive amount of record keeping and bookkeeping involved in the way you did MERS as well. And in point of fact, it does appear that the board's intent was to pay some additional amount beyond what the actuary required. That is not what's happening. That has never been what's happening. So when the state of Michigan allows you to pay your pension requirement in one of two ways. You can either pay a flat fee amount, or you can pay a percentage of payroll. Now, when they determine the percentage of payroll that they want you to pay, they are estimating a certain amount of payroll, and they're going to try and get you to that flat fee amount, right? So what your township has been doing is taking your budget and saying, okay, well, we're going to assume the percentage on the budget, add a little bit more, and pay that to MERS. But in point of fact, your budget is just an estimate. So you haven't paid them based on actual. And every year for the last few years, you've had to come up with what your shortfall was. So your shortfall was paid to them to cover the shortfall. So there really has never been any quote-unquote extra. You are not paying what they determine the flat fee is, because maybe your payroll didn't hit that. So our recommendation to you, in addition, you make one lump sum payment in there. So we are recommending, and you make it at the front of the year, and we're recommending that you talk to an investment advisor, because that's an unusual way to invest money. You are depending on the market value on that one day versus splitting these payments up over 12 months. So our recommendation is that if you want to do the flat fee payment and you want to pay a little extra, that you look to the actuarial report and pay what the actuary said the flat fee was, not what your budget would determine it to be. And then you could pay a little bit more, but you should talk to your investment advisor. My guess is they're going to recommend you do periodic payments. The second method is you could pay it based on a percentage of payroll. So during the course of the months, you're paying according to the percentage of the payroll. And then at the end of the year, the last couple of months, you can take a look at your budget to actual, what is your cash situation like, and the board could say, we're going to make an extra payment right then. So there's a couple of different ways to handle that, but the way you're handling that right now is not optimal. It causes a lot of extra bookkeeping, and in point of fact, it isn't achieving the objective that we think you want.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
I'm actually done, so sure.
Oh, okay. I was just wanted to do it on that point before you moved on to the next one. So my question is because I'm part of the Retirement Oversight Committee, and we were always asking to pay a percentage of payroll, so I thought it was always based on the actual payroll, not on the budget.
The initial payment is based on the budget.
That's what they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the
as
end
a
of the
retirement
year-
I think as a Retirement Oversight Committee, we always said pay this percentage of payroll, so we thought it was being paid on payroll, and then we were putting an extra to the surplus account. I don't like the idea of making one payment, because as you said, as an investment advisor, you need to, even with...
I'm not an investment
No,
advisor.
I know, I'm saying, you're saying to talk to an investment advisor, so I do not like the idea of making one payment. I mean, my work used to do two, and now we're going to quarterly because of the way the market is and stuff like that. I
So
think,
ultimately, MERS does force you to pay on the percentage of payroll.
right, and
right.
that's what I thought we were doing, but you're
And-
saying we were doing it on budget, not on actual
So
payroll.
what happens is at the end of the year, they're having to do an analysis to say, well, here's what you paid us, here's what you should have paid us.
Right.
Now come up with the difference.
Right.
So you are always short, and at the end of the year, you're having to pay extra money, I think.
But if we were paying it on payroll by the month.
Every month.
Correct, like I thought we were. If payroll was $100,000 and we were paying 15%, so payroll in January was 100,000, in February, our payment should have been 15% of 100,000, just for easy numbers.
Right.
So we should have paid 15,000. That's what I thought we've been doing, and you're telling me that's not what we were doing.
No, that's
They were
not
doing
what
it
you're
off the
doing.
budget amount, not the actual
You
payroll.
make your initial payment off the budget amount, and then every month, every payroll, they were trying to reconcile between what was paid, and they put, I think it was like 4 worksheets, and so I told them to stop doing that. So they paid an initial amount, and then every month they were saying, well, okay, what would we have paid if we were doing a percentage of payroll? and then they would subtract it from that initial deposit amount, right?
So
It's a
can
huge
we-
amount of work, and the long and the short of it is, when it comes down to the end of the year, that initial amount wasn't sufficient.
Right, no, I understand that, so I'm trying to
Okay.
find out. So could we go, because I don't like the idea of making one set payment, could we go to, okay, January's payroll was 100,000, we need to pay 15%, in February we put in 15,000.
Yeah,
And then let's say the surplus is 3%, because I think that's what the surplus is about. Then maybe 3% in February also goes to a separate, because the surplus is supposed to go here, and then the 15,000 is supposed to go here. So we would actually pay 18,000, but 3 to the surplus and 15.
so I would
we could-
recommend you not do that, because it's actually more complicated than it sounds. So I would recommend if they want 15%, you pay 15%. Then once a quarter, you could look at it and say, okay, you know what, we have enough in the budget, let's make a one-time payment of, $10,000.
That's fine, we could do the surplus we are trying to, I don't know what the words are for it, but MERS has they want this amount, but if we do this amount, we'll get to being funded quicker. So we're doing the surplus that then is handled different than the way it's handled per individual.
I understand.
So I
You
don't
can
think we
also
want to
make an
leave the
ex-
surplus, but we could do it quarterly, like
can
you
also make
said.
an extra payment right against your account. I mean, the surplus is just, it's an artificially created bucket of money. It's ultimately going to go against your liability, so you could just pay extra on your liability. Not sure what you're thinking you want the surplus for.
This is
other
a
than-
MERS thing, the surplus. It's not our thing. This is from MERS. They're telling us that there's a surplus.
I understand. I do understand. I do understand. I do understand.
Okay.
You could do that or not, but you do have a surplus account, and you could just deposit into it quarterly, a little bit of money every time you look at your
Okay.
budget to actual.
Okay.
So it's certainly something you can take under advisement, right? Your current process is complicated, and it does leave you at the end of the year with having to come up with extra money, which could put you over budget, right? Because you haven't put in enough during the course of the year. So it leaves you kind of scrambling at the end of the year to adjust your budget. So the surplus account is a tool they use to, I think, don't they let you pull money out of that? Isn't that the point of that? Yeah. So the whole point of the surplus account is that you're not committing to it. Once you deposit the money into a liability account to the pension, you don't get to pull that money back. It's there. So the point of the surplus account is to say, well, we're going to put this here, but we're not 100% sure we want to let you keep it. So if it's in a surplus account, they'll let you pull it back. That's the point of the surplus account, is that you haven't committed it to your pension. So I think other than that, we did make some internal control recommendations. It is an unfortunate state of events that we haven't been able to fix everything that we walked in there and found. But be that as it may, that's where we are, so. Any other questions? I think your clerk's got a good handle on where the holes are in her office in the accounting area. I think the treasurer is a real strong support person to help right this ship, and I think they have some pretty good staff. So I think what they are just lacking is an accountant.
I guess I have a question. Is this something your company could help right the ship going forward since we don't have an accountant?
Yes, we are no longer able to. We don't have any capacity left to help you, unfortunately. It's very, very frustrating for us to leave your books in this disarray still. But we don't have any capacity to step in here until January.
All right, so that needs to become a priority, number one priority then. To get us
Pardon me?
That needs to be our number one priority then, to get us an accountant in here.
And that's why
That's
Ken's
Why
here as
Ken's
well.
here.
Is everything complete, like that did our contract get completed then of what was
No.
in the agreement?
No, we weren't able to complete everything in there, so we bill hourly up to a certain dollar figure,
Right,
and
'cause
your
we
limit
capped
was
it.
30,000. You capped it, so we got everything done we could within that constraint.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Colleen.
Ken?
Sent the board a letter, hopefully everybody's had a chance to read it. And I'm just here to reiterate kind of what Colleen was saying, you really need to get somebody in here to right the ship, or somebody that truly understands the accounting, the debits and the credits, the meat and potatoes of everything. As I've told Rosalind, we'd be happy to help you guys interview people, make sure they truly understand the accounting, the debits and credits, and whatever else the board can think of to get the process rolling. We'd like to assist the township to do that. Because like our letter stated, we can't just come in and do basic accounting here, then we're not going to be independent as your auditors. So I just wanted to come here tonight to have a discussion with the board and see if there's anything that I'm not understanding, why we can't get somebody in here. I think price was one of the concerns that the board had.
I'm not positive that the entire board has an appreciation of how bad things had gotten here over the past 5 to 10 years. You were doing a lot of work helping our system through versus just doing audit work, and this has been a known issue for a long time. And this board, where the buck stops here, we have to do something about this. We can't just keep letting it go bad. Thank you for all the help that you've given us, by the way. I really appreciate it. But it's, if you look at your letter, there's some of these numbers might not make everyone happy here, but we're unauditable right now. And that's not acceptable.
I agree. I've known since I've been on board, I've said, because I've looked at some of the stuff and I've said, like the confusion in there, I don't even think I could figure out just in the time when I first started that Sue didn't understand what I was saying. I didn't understand what Sue was saying. I didn't see enough of it to be able to do anything, so I kind of backed off, and I always felt that things weren't ever done on time or done correctly, and I had always stated it, but the past is the past. I agree, 70 journal entries is way too many for a CPA firm to do, so when I found out it was that many this year, I knew something needed to be done. I saw that the MACPA did post the job app that she did, so I was happy to see that. Hopefully the job ad gets some people coming. Do you guys know of any bookkeeping companies, since the Woodhill Group can't continue, that could do this? I mean, I've tried to reach out to some of the old bookkeepers.
So I think I
know.
can speak on that behalf if you're okay with that, Ken. Sure. So, knowing that Colleen did not have the capacity, I have called all of the surrounding CPA firms to see if they, well, one, are they familiar with BSNA and working with municipalities? Out of all the phone calls, I have a list in my office. There was really just one CPA firm that really sounded like it was worth something, and that was Taylor and Morgan out of Grand Blanc.
Okay.
And I actually have a proposal that came into my email prior to the board meeting, and I did go ahead and I forwarded it to Ken for his review before I wanted to submit it to the board.
So that would be to have them do the accounting, so then Ken could continue with the audit?
Correct.
Unless we get any job interests for a
Correct.
full-time person. What big of a range did you do to the CPA firms? Like,
So I went from Clarkston, we went to Grand Blanc, I went to Flint, because I guess they're kind of, I just did like a Google search and just brought up like a CPA's near me, and I just started going down the list,
okay,
calling places.
okay.
And I have all the responses that I have recorded from what I was given, who I called, and what their response was.
Okay. Because there's one in Bloomfield that I just will see if you called or not. That.
I don't know if I went to as far as Bloomfield. Like I said, I think it was about 9 or 10 that I called. So I can share that list with you if you'd like to see it.
Okay.
What program did you say they had to be familiar with?
BSNA.
BS and A?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Our
It's
accounting
our
software.
accounting
It's a
software.
governmental
Governmental
accounting.
accounting
It's just governmental, right?
Okay.
That I know of, yeah. It's a governmental accounting program.
And it's just really tough right now finding anybody for anything.
Right.
What happened to all the
Absolutely.
Workers, but our own firm is struggling to
Right.
keep capacity to keep up with all of the work.
And I think trying to find the job that we need done for the 60,000, which we've talked about in the past, that's not gonna happen for that amount. And that's what Ken's letter is saying.
Not if you're gonna get a CPA, you won't
Well,
get it
and
for
and
60.
he had mentioned
but-
that last time he was here, that we needed to do more than that, and that's the number that
The
we
board
came up with for
with.
some reason, but
Well,
we can discuss it in discussion here to change that, because that's why we put it in discussion if we wanted to take action on that, but the 60,000 is not working.
Well, part of that was if you weren't gonna get a CPA. I mean, a CPA you're gonna pay more for.
Well, that was what we intended, though. We wanted a
Wanted the
CPA,
accountant.
and 60,000 wasn't gonna get us what we wanted.
I thought
that's
we were
not-
just looking for
No,
someone
we
who
were
was an
looking for
accountant.
someone that had a degree, what our auditor asked us
No,
for.
there's a difference than a degree and a CPA. I thought we were
Yes.
just looking for someone with an accounting degree, not the CPA license. You don't just get a license, you have to go through testing and working in a CPA
Mm-hmm. Sure.
firm and keep up with your CPE. So there's a difference there. And I was looking more for an accountant, not the CPA route.
Right.
Well, even at 60,000, we're not getting action on either of
Right.
those, degree or CPA.
And to us, it doesn't matter if the person's a
Yeah, they don't need
CPA.
Right,
Right.
that's what I'm saying,
Right,
right, 'cause
right.
you,
They can
right,
do the job, and they
Right.
Correct.
understand accounting, we need to get them in here.
right.
So, all right, well, we can discuss that more under discussion. Does anybody else have anything for Ken?
No, I appreciate everything you've done to try to keep the books in
Yes.
order.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Well, wait,
Ken.
are you leaving? Because, well, we're gonna discuss it again under discussion, so I didn't know. Typically,
nothing
we
better to
don't
do.
have discussions during presentations, we have it during discussion. I don't,
Okay, so that brings us to our reports. We have a treasury report. We have a building department report. Parks and Rec report. Fred's here. Fred, you want to say anything?
Well, the first item on there was, we got a nice DNR check for grant one for $113,700 some dollars. That's, from what I understand, is a partial payment. We got a little bit more to collect on that. Grant two is closed out as well, so we should start seeing some checks come in the mail on that one as well. We haven't got anywhere on grant three, of course. I've been bugging HRC to come up with a design for that concession stand. I don't know what the holdup is, but we're gonna fall behind on that if they don't get busy. Septemberfest has come and gone. Rainy days, but we got through it. And we're gonna move the date up next year. We're looking at September 16th. Hopefully we'll get that 70 degrees weather. Traditionally, it's always been the fourth Saturday. I've talked to quite a few people throwing that traditional thing out the door. So what I did is I called around the surrounding areas to make sure we weren't conflicting with anything else. And that's the date that's open, basically. We looked at the 9th, but Frankenmuth Car Show is big, so we wouldn't have any cars. We made sure we didn't go near Good Times or Metamora Days, Pumpkin Fest, Davison, so 16th looks like the date. Now, I'm going to put together a date for this committee to get together one last time, so I ain't making all these decisions on my own. We'll agree on what we're gonna do. If we're gonna go 2-day, if we do a 2-day, I suggest that we have one street for people that want a 2-day, another street for the people that want to have 1 day. Because that was an issue. Saturday, we had, after 8 o'clock, we had 6 or 7 vendors pick up and leave. And then on Sunday, we closed early. Slow, but again, it was the weather. Mr. Marshall stuck it out real well. We had to send a few entertainers home because of the weather, the rain. But Bob covered all his stuff in plastic bags and things like that and stuck it out. And so we did get through that all right. The children's area was busy on Saturday, but not so busy on Sunday. I checked with Tony, who drove the senior busing on Sunday. He picked up one person.
Oh,
So that was smart money. That was really not good use. And then the money, the extra $700 we spent on the children's area, there was probably a dozen kids over on that. Again, the stage was an extra $400 for Sunday. Got through a couple shows. The magic show went really well. We had a good shot of good weather during that, and he was packed. So in all, we got through it. 33 years. We'll see what happens next year. We're gonna, like I said in my report, we already ordered the stage from Oakland County to make sure we get that. We might, once I get with the committee, redesign some of the entertainment areas once again to see how we go. From my understanding, the Lions Club did really well. Their cornhole tournament was full. We had 64 cars for the car show and awards. We had Randy Wise stepped up and bought all the awards for us. I thought we was going to be struggling for sponsorships, but we got through. I sent a letter out and asked people to be friends of Septemberfest, and I ended up generating about another $3,000 off that. So I shouldn't be in the red on that. Look at our auditor over there. But other than that, let's see what else I got. Fall sports are ending next week, so we're going to start focus on indoor sports, activities, recreation, style. Go from there. Anybody got any questions? Again, I want to
Thanks,
good
Fred.
job on all that, Fred.
Yeah.
special thanks to you, Bob. You really did a good job.
Thanks, Fred. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fred. All right, and then we also have a senior center report. And Faye is not here, so we'll move right into trustees. Cassie, you got anything tonight?
Sure. None of my
CDBG report. I wanted to
I didn't
speak.
see. Okay,
There's
sorry.
not, and therefore I
You were
wanted
close.
to speak on
Okay,
behalf of it.
hold on, sorry. Go ahead, Rosalind.
So we have not had a CDBG report in some time from Oakland County. When we do get that report, the board will have it. I know when I was talking to some of our contacts at Oakland County, they have a new system that they're using for CDBG, and I think they've had a heck of a time with it because I still haven't received reports. I did reach out just last month asking, like, am I not on the list? Why have we not received them? They told me as soon as they give them out, we'll get one, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're
All right,
welcome.
Kathy, now.
Thank you. None of my subcommittees met this past month. So I just have a couple things. Cindy over there is our new recording secretary, and I think she's doing a great job on the minutes. I read over the minutes, and I was very impressed. So I just wanted to mention that, because the minutes are important, as they are our legal record of what our actions are. So thank you for doing a good job. I'm glad to see Grant 1 finally getting reimbursed. I hope that these funds are allocated back to the accounts they were taken from. I'm not sure if they're from the designated fund or from the general fund, but reviewing the minutes from the Grant 1 approval will probably be a good place to start looking to track the money. So hopefully it all gets returned to the places that we pulled it from. And that's all I have today.
Thank you. Steve?
None of my subcommittees met, so I have nothing, sir.
All right. Bob?
Just congratulations to Fred for a job well done on Septemberfest.
Dana?
None of my committees met, so also we went to Septemberfest on Saturday. So good job. Thank you to everyone who helped out. We are in October, which means the end, October 31st is Halloween. I just wanted to put it out there that the village will be in the newspaper and all over Facebook, but the village is who collects candy, for those who don't know that, for the homes here, because they get a lot of kids. So if you want to donate any Halloween candy for that night, make sure you get it over to the village offices. And then looking forward to Witches Night this Saturday night.
Thank you. Scott?
Taxes, 96% collected and dispersed. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Rosalind?
Good evening, and thank you all for attending the meeting for Brandon Township tonight. In September, Brandon Township received a reimbursement for CDBG in the amount of $2,589. Also in September, I did attend the Brandon School District Distinguished Alumni event. It was a ceremony, and it was an honor to attend that. Lieutenant Glover got an award, so that was exciting. Some of you probably already know we are approaching a general election that will be held on November 8th of 22. Absentee ballots will be mailed out by the end of the week. There are several proposals on the ballot for November. With that said, it's always a great idea to educate yourself on the pros and the cons of all of those proposals. Brandon Township is still looking for an accountant. If you know someone or are interested, please stop by the clerk's office or give us a call. The clerk's office has been trying to hire an accountant. Needless to say, the applicant did decline the position when they were offered. I have posted the accountant position on the MICPA website. The posting was $350. I was able to use a coupon, and it ended up being no cost to the township.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. And I do not have anything to add to what's already been said tonight, so we'll move right along into correspondence. We did have a letter from Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance that was in there. And then that brings us right into citizens' comments on agenda items only. Is there any citizens with any comments on agenda items? Okay, seeing none. We'll come right into our discussion. And the first one on there was the letter from Ken. So I think we need to discuss that and consider changing what we had already recommended for a wage for an accountant, because we are not getting any traction with the amount that we previously approved. So we put it on here so we could potentially take action to change that salaried amount.
Well, since it's in discussion, we're not supposed to take action.
That's why we put it in discussion.
No, we put it
No,
in
that's
discussion
just
so
to
we can
discuss
talk about it.
Okay, well then I can bring it back to our special meeting that we're gonna have in a couple weeks,
Yep.
but what is everybody's thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with Dana, if we want a CPA, that for sure is gonna cost extra money, but if we hold it to an accountant, and I think Ken's given us, some, Ken, you can tell us how much an accountant would
He did
expect.
in this letter,
Yes.
80,000 for an accountant. Doesn't say anything about a CPA.
Yeah, so the CPA probably would get even more.
But we're not necessarily looking for a CPA.
Right. We
Looking
want
for an
accountant.
accountant. But the
And that's-
60,000 is not working. We're not getting enough applications. We're not finding the right people.
My suggestion, guys, is just leave it open. Go up to 100,000, but it would be based on the experience this person has and how good of
Right.
an accountant they are.
Yeah.
Leave out, who cares if they're a CPA or master's degree or any of that stuff. You just, chickens are slim right now. You can get as many people in there as you can. I would just leave it at that.
And we need to think outside of the box other than salary as well. It seems to me that possibly this should be a salaried position and not an hourly position, where they can get their job done. And if they don't need to be here on an afternoon, fine, because right now, what I'm seeing is people don't want this hourly job.
I do agree with that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
I'm
but I
done.
do know that most people with a degree and a CPA license are going to want a salary job, not a 9-to-5 job, not an 8-to-5 job. They're gonna just wanna be able to come get their work done and be. So I agree with the salary. I understand Ken's point. I don't wanna just say, we're gonna do 100 and we're gonna offer anybody 100. You have to look at their
No, I
years
don't
of
think I'm doing
experience, their
that.
license, if they just have an accountant, degree, if they have a master's, if they have their license. The other thing besides just calling CPA firms, and I think this is what my question to Ken that I was trying to ask was, because there's not just CPA firms also out there, there's also bookkeeping firms where then you're not paying that higher level.
Right,
So did we
right.
look at any bookkeeping firms too, or does Ken have any contacts? I know when I worked at the last CPA firm I worked at, we had 2 or 3 different bookkeeping companies that would do our bookkeeping for us. They weren't our companies, but they were ones that we worked with frequently that then did the bookkeeping. So then we could do the audit without a problem because they were a totally different company. They didn't do anything for us. We just knew them from doing all the bookkeeping for different clients of ours that we couldn't do the bookkeeping for. So that was more my question for you instead of looking at firms.
All the bookkeeping firms that we work with, Dana, they're all struggling to hire people.
Yeah, I figured that, but it didn't hurt to ask. You never know.
Gone through my list of all my contacts, everybody I know, if there's anybody out there that you can get into, I'll let you know about it.
Okay. And I'll reach out to some of my CPA contacts. I mean, I've been out of firms for a while, but there's still some people I can reach out to see if some of their bookkeepers that they work with, if they have time.
Governmental accounting is unique.
No, I know that. I worked on governmental. I used to work for Jenkins, Magnus, Folk and Carroll, and we did Bloomfield Township, so
So it would be hard to take somebody who knows QuickBooks and lay them in here.
I'm familiar. No, I've worked on governmental audits.
So then it sounds like you guys want to do a range then, maybe? We say from 60 to 100, depending on experience and education?
Yeah, it doesn't mean we have to
I
pay
think
it,
that's a
right?
good
That's all
idea.
you're saying.
Right.
I mean,
And
throw it
then-
out there and see what we can catch, right?
And then we
I mean,
want it to
obviously this
be-
isn't working.
Then we
We
would
gotta make
want
it
it to be a
work.
true salary instead of the hourly salary, which we pretty much have here. We don't really have a true salary per se.
Right,
I
because
thought that's,
it needs to be an employee unless,
Wasn't it a
we
salary
Well, no,
position?
because, yes, we said we wanted it to be a salary for that position, but we said it was 40 hours in what we presented, because that was the issue we were having with the one candidate, remember? That they had to be there the 40 hours.
Well, that's
So
why
if-
I
if-
kind of asked that question at the board, and I said, I just want to confirm that this is a salary position, not hourly. And my understanding is that they weren't held to those 40 hours.
But doesn't our policy, I'm pretty sure says 40 hours. That's
For
what the
hourly.
hang up was. So we
But
have,
it's- we're
so we have to
talking
make
about
some
for
changes. In
salary.
it. We have to make some changes to that. If we're going to do that, that's what I'm saying. It's a true salary position. We have to change the policy, which isn't a problem. I'm just asking what you guys want.
Well,
I-
I want to change the policy.
Okay.
I agree with Scott. We have to think outside the box, and if you want to catch the big fish, you got to use the right kind of bait.
Yep.
So if we
I
leave it
agree.
open, they can come in and say, well, I need this. You know, maybe they'll come in and say, well, I only need $60,000 a year, but I need to have time available to go off with my family on vacation. So if you think outside the box and you let them set the hook themselves,
right.
So-
Or maybe they
Really
can
good.
get the books once they're in order where they're only working 4 days a week, and, they don't care if they get 60 because they work 4 days a week, whatever.
I don't know how you're going to run into many
Yeah,
people who are going to forego money,
What
but
policy in the policy book needs to be changed?
I'll look at it. I read it the other day. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, I
without it
don't
in
think
front
we
of me.
need to change
There's
anything to
something
the
we'll need to look at.
hourly.
I
We just
remember
need to-
when we were discussing that, we were talking salary typically works at least 40 hours
Right.
and sometimes over.
Right. So I believe that's in the policies that way too. I'll look again. If it's not, then we don't need to change it. If it is, we need to look at changing it.
I do want to say there was something I read that I thought I read in this packet that talked about if we wanted a contract employee versus an independent contractor versus an employee. The only way you can do them as an independent contractor is if we're not their only company. Like, you can't just hire a
Right.
single person who only works for us. It has to be a company that's an independent contractor.
Right.
There's
Right.
other people that have those other employees that have those employee agreements here at the township now.
Yeah, but they're not independent contractors though.
Well, they're kind of set up as an employee and on a contract.
Isn't that just Bill
But it's still kind
we're,
of
we're
set
doing
up.
that for our assessor. That's
for the assessor?
because he's the assessor for multiple jurisdictions.
For his assessing part, but that's because you're paying his company and then but
Right.
you can't do that if you hire someone as an accountant, we're the only ones doing the accounting they are the employee here.
Right. Okay.
I have a question. Do we have a good job description for this job?
I think we
Because-
do.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if there was one that you hand out to people, and I don't know if Ken's had any.
Yeah, we have one.
Yes,
We've
it's
worked on
just
one
to make
together.
sure.
Did? Yeah, it's
Just-
been posted.
It's been posted, and yes, we do.
Okay,
so-
yeah, so maybe Ken can look at it just to make sure we're covering everything that we need done.
Okay.
and it can be completely transparent. In spite of my metaphor, I know nothing about fishing.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on the Woodhill report? No? Okay. Well, then we'll move right along to the consent agenda. That was amended, so looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was amended.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you
I think
both.
they're
Thank you.
all set.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, he called, yeah.
You could speak up at the end, though.
Yep, we'll have another one at the end. Okay.
It probably won't be that long.
All right, does somebody want to make the motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Bob and Steve. Thank you. We'll take a roll call on that, please.
DePalma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. No unfinished business, so that brings us into our new business. And this form was updated. I transcribed the numbers wrong from the village revenues at the top to the total. It was off by $6, so that has been corrected on the one that was in front of you. So this motion is for the 2023 payments of the cable franchise fees. So the formulas were all figured out, and the suggested motion is in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve the suggested motion.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Steve. Any questions on that? All right, can we take a roll call, please?
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. Then we have our yearly state Mdot permit resolution to allow them to do work in right-of-ways. So
I'll
we
make-
have to do this every year.
I'll make the motion to approve the MDOT performance resolution for governmental agencies as presented and list the township supervisor and clerk as authorized positions to apply for permits to work within state highway right-of-way and allow the supervisor to sign the resolution.
Thank you. We'll take a roll.
Did you second that?
I did. It's fast.
He's trying to
do
beat
a-
everybody up.
Faster than a fly
Right,
fisherman.
right. Let's go ahead and do a roll call on that too, please.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. All right, and then next is our Oakland County IT services contract. I have looked at this, Scott has looked at this, Chief Quaffis has looked at it, and we've discussed it with Stuart as well. Fortunately, this is one of them contracts where Oakland County says you sign it or you don't get service. So we need the service for our tax, is it collections or just the review?
Tax, assessment,
Assessment.
police, fire.
Yeah, the police, the fire, it's all on there. The police use it for Clemis, and then the fire department uses it, and then Scott uses his tax portion, so.
I'll make the motion to approve the Oakland County IT service contract as presented and allow the supervisor to sign it.
Second.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and roll call that, please.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. And then we have the transit resolution. Most of the communities I've been talking with have already passed this, so we're one of the last couple to bring it to our board. But, yes.
I was just wondering which communities they were. I mean, how far
Oh, there's a
south?
lot. It's Milford, Novi, Rochester Hills. There's like 40 of them.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
All the northern.
All the
Yeah,
ones that are going to
mostly
use
north,
it.
Pretty much north of Baldwin and
Okay.
75.
Groveland, Holly.
Maybe not Lake Orion, but other than Orion.
Lake Orion's actually been on the conversations. I don't know that they've passed something yet, but.
Right.
I know that I received an email from Smart saying that if this millage doesn't go through, that they're going to pull the Smart buses if we have them in our community.
Sounds like a threat.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was
exactly
gonna
what I
say.
said.
That sounds like a threat to
But
me.
it was an email that was circulating, and it
Yeah.
got pretty heated with a lot of jurisdictions that were involved with it.
Can we read this so that it gets on the tape?
Do we need to? We never do that with
We need to
resolutions.
read it,
Well,
don't we?
no, just so people know what we're talking about.
You know, Kathy, I think we can end up talking about it longer than it take to read, but you read all this and it's just when you're watching it on video, it just sounds like
Right.
the Charlie Brown adults talking, you know, it's just gibberish.
Does anybody want to make a motion to pass the resolution?
I'll make a motion to pass the resolution of opposition to taxing local government and residents for the proposed public transit millage.
Second.
Thank you, Dana and Steve. Appreciate it. And because it's a resolution, I would like to roll call, please.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. All right, now we have an amendment from Stuart. This does not need to go to the PC. So he has both of those on here already to amend this. Are you
This is-
raising your hand?
Is this for first reading?
He didn't say anything about a first reading,
Well,
but that's the way we normally
This
do
is-
it, so
Yeah,
yes.
this is the first
Yep.
time I've seen it.
Yep,
I can make a motion.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve for first reading the amended medical marijuana caregiver permitting ordinance amendment to Chapter 18, Section 4 of the Code of Ordinances, Charter Township of Brandon as presented.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. And because it's first reading, we'll roll call that too, please.
Broughton,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Rumble,
Yes. All right, that brings us to our last item, which is the township building closures.
Okay, the Charter Township of Brandon will be facilitating the state general election on November 8th. So what this is doing is just asking that we can close the township and senior center so that elections, we can have a secure election process. We are having absentee ballots counted here. So I'm just looking for the suggested motion.
All right, I'll
So
make,
moved.
yep, thanks, Bob. I'll second that.
And that is to approve the closing of the township building at the Edna Burton Senior Center on November 8th, 2022 due to the state general election.
Yes.
And did we already move our meeting, or did, okay.
All right, and can we take a roll call on that, please?
DePalma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. That brings us back to citizens' comments. Cheryl?
Told you it wouldn't be long.
I don't know why I brought this. I just wanted to make a couple comments on this whole accountant thing. I just got to read the report now because evidently it didn't get put in the new documents online. So I haven't read all the detail. But another recommendation I could make if you're having problems, which I understand, hiring an accountant, is to look at maybe hiring a bookkeeper, which is going to be different qualifications, but as long as they've worked with BS&A, and then get an accountant that comes in, kind of like what we do at the library. Mind you, our stuff is a lot simpler than yours. But we just have an accountant that come in and reconciles every month.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a different option that you might want to look at if you can't get somebody in, you know, an accountant or a CPA that wants to come in full-time. You might look at hiring a bookkeeper and just finding a CPA. There's a number of them out there because we interviewed a few of them that we're familiar with, you know, municipal finance and stuff. They could come in and do that. So it might be worthwhile just to look at that. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah, good suggestion, Cheryl, thank you.
Any other citizens have comments? Okay. All right, board comments. Kathy, you have anything else?
I hope everyone, I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween and be safe.
Thank you.
Watch that candy.
Right. Steve?
No, nothing at all, sir. Thank you.
Bob?
Happy Halloween.
Dana?
Happy fall. We'll be here before Halloween, so I'll just say that now, and that's it. Nothing else.
Scott?
Nothing more, Jason.
Rosalind?
No, thank you.
And I have nothing else tonight, so we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.